Hello, good evening. My name is Ron Lilly. I'm with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation. I want to welcome you to tonight's meeting to discuss the Shirley Gate Road extension preliminary design. Our goal this evening is to provide information about the preliminary design and answer any questions we're able to, as well as to solicit feedback on the project. Before we begin, I do have a couple of reminders and meeting rules, I guess, for doing a WebEx meeting. Let me just run through those quickly. Note that the meeting is being recorded. We'll upload the recording on YouTube, and we'll link to that from the Shirley Gate Road Extension webpage on the Fairfax County website and online via social media such as Twitter, and Facebook. And hopefully that will be posted by tomorrow. You're welcome to submit questions using the Q&A function in the WebEx window at any time. We'll do our best to get all the questions we can, while also ensuring that we get to all the participants. We're expecting to finish up by 8:30. If we run out of time, our team will follow up on any unanswered questions with replies directly to attendees or by posting questions and answers on the project webpage. Please do not use the chat feature to submit your questions. The Q&A function will send your question to all the administrators in the session, and that'll help us keep questions organized and in one place. If you're on the phone, please hold your questions to the end. We'll have instructions on how to ask questions at the conclusion of the presentation. We also encourage you to submit your comments about the project and this meeting using the online survey, online feedback form, written feedback, or a phone call. Again, we'll have those addresses for you at the end of the presentation. So included in this evening's meeting is the Springfield District Supervisor, Pat Harity. We also have the Braddock District Supervisor, James Walkinshaw, Fairfax County Department of Transportation Director, Tom Bashadny. We have some representatives from VDOT. We have our design consultant from Kimley Horn and Associates, and some other County Department of Transportation staff. I'd like to welcome Springfield District Supervisor Pat Harity to open the meeting with brief remarks.
Yeah, and I'll keep them very brief. I want to thank everybody for attending and your interest in the project. It is an important project, as we'll hear. It is a project that has changed since the last time it was publicly seen. So I think you'll find some of the changes interesting. I know it's a project that hasn't been popular with some people in the area of Shirley Gate Road and Braddock and Pope said. But we do want to hear your constructive input, and I'm looking forward to hearing your questions, your answers, and your thoughts as we move forward. So again, thank you very much for attending, and again, if I don't have a chance at the end, thank you to staff for all of the work you're doing on this project.
Thank you, Supervisor Harity. FCDOT Director Tom Bashadny, I think, wanted to have a welcoming comment as well.
Thank you, Ron, and I'll be very brief. Thanks to Supervisor Harity and Supervisor Walkinshaw for joining us tonight. Thanks for the public for spending the time with us this evening. We're looking forward to your comments and your questions, and we recognize that your feedback will help make the project better. So that's an important part of the process. So wanted to thank everybody for your participation this evening. Ron?
Thank you, Tom. I have a fairly short presentation on the project, and then there will be an opportunity for questions. We'll quickly run through the project background and history, some of the expected benefits of the project, go through the current design efforts to date, and discuss the next steps for the project, and then take questions and comments. So the project location, as probably most folks know, as shown on the screen here, is in this area between Fairfax County Parkway on the south edge to the existing Shirley Gate Road, Braddock Road intersection. It's about a 1 mile segment to connect between the two. In the background on the project, it was included in the county transportation plan in 1991, slated as a 4-lane urban minor arterial that would provide access to the future Patriot Park, which is the County Park Authority park planned for that immediate vicinity. In 2014, the project was included in the county's 6-year transportation project priorities plan, and a planning study was funded, which from 2015 to 2017 was conducted with a community input process as well. That included a task force of community members. The study looked at the conceptual alignment and the final build out. At that time, the expected 2040 volume of traffic was 15,500 vehicles per day. There was included significant coordination with the Park Authority on the alignment. There was also an indication in that process that we should shift the alignment to minimize impacts on the residential properties to the east, that we should incorporate design elements to minimize traffic volume on Pope's Head Road, and limit impacts to the natural environment, and that we should seek additional community input as the design progresses. A little more background, just we coordinated along the way with the Fairfax County Parkway widening and Pope's Head Road interchange project the VDOT is presently conducting. The design includes construction of a connection to the future Shirley Gate Road extension. If you can see the cursor, Parkway was the main part of the view here, and there would be an exit ramp to the future Shirley Gate Road. So we would provide a connection to that, including bike and pedestrian facilities. And the design addressed community feedback to minimize the traffic volume on Pope's Head Road to the west of the Fairfax County Parkway. We've provided a link to the project website that VDOT has for that project if you're interested in seeing more about that. Expected project benefits. This segment, again here on this graphic, would provide a more direct route from northbound Fairfax County Parkway to I-66 eastbound. So the Parkway in this graphic is in a yellow, light yellow, can head up to Route 50 and then quick jaunt over to I-66. It provides multimodal access to the future Patriot Park East, which is in the corner here between Braddock and the Parkway and what would be Shirley Gate Extended. Provides additional bicycle and pedestrian connectivity, shortens the trip up to that Shirley Gate Braddock Road intersection by about 1.5 miles, really, as opposed to going around on the Parkway and over on Braddock. Improves the travel time from southbound Shirley Gate to southbound Fairfax County Parkway. So again, heading south, straight shot to the Parkway and on down south from there. Expect reduced, excuse me, good screen adjustment here. Reducing volume on 123 Ox Road could extend the useful life of that current 4-lane roadway and reduce the need for an interchange at Ox Road and Braddock, 123 Braddock, and improves the capacity of the southbound Shirley Gate Braddock Road intersection. Probably a lot of people recognize even now that in peak hours it is a bit busy to try to take a left turn on the Braddock Road. And so without that improvement, the future traffic volumes would significantly deteriorate at that intersection. Based on the planning study and the recommendations there, we did end up shifting the alignment a little bit to the west to stay primarily on the Fairfax County Park Authority property, which is shown in the magenta heavy outline property boundaries here. So you can see most of the path is in the Park Authority property. In the preliminary design phase, we updated our traffic analysis. We looked at the alignment and the connections at both ends, the Parkway and Braddock Road end, developed some conceptual stormwater management, and worked on the access coordination for Patriot Park. In the traffic analysis, it's the same graphic, but just in a little bit more detail here. The traffic analysis and forecast demonstrate improved operations along 123, as this alternative path would alleviate some of the traffic demand there. There is not much, a little bit add on the southern end of the Parkway, and a little bit of reduction as you go north of Pope's Head Road on the Parkway itself, not big change in volumes there. We also projected out to 2046 with an updated study, and found that the expected traffic volume for 2046 was about 11,900. So that was actually reduced from the 2017 forecast in the planning study, which is mostly based on an updated factor of the lanes provided on the Parkway, as well as on I-66 and some other roads in the local network. So with the expected reduction of volumes, the two-lane segment would accommodate the expected traffic for the foreseeable future. Just by reference here, two-lane typical capacity would be about 18,000 vehicles per day. So four-lane would provide about twice that, 36,000. So looking at the preliminary plans, here's an overview, and we'll zoom in on some of these areas. But in this view, the Parkway is on the left-hand side, which would be the south, and the alignment along through the park and tying into Braddock Road on the right-hand side, with a little bit north of Braddock Road, some realignment and reconfiguration of that intersection. So it would provide two 12-foot lanes, a shared use path along the west side or the park side of the road, and a sidewalk along the east side. The connection to the Fairfax County Parkway interchange, an entrance will blow up at this area to the future Patriot Park. And the two lanes that we would construct would be the further west from the residences in the Meath Court area. So that would minimize disturbance to that area. So a little bit more close up, sorry. At the southern end, at the Parkway end, you can see in pink magenta, the Fairfax County Parkway interchange roundabout that VDOT project would construct and stub out to just a little bit east or north of the Parkway. So our project would pick up there, tie into the stub out, and create two lanes. We provide a park entrance here, potentially a entrance to a property that could serve properties to the south and east. We've got a stormwater management area. And then as you go along northward, sort of a standard two-lane section, there you can see the property line indicating the ultimate right-of-way that would be needed if four lanes is ever constructed. And then at the Braddock Road end, you'd have right turn lanes, left turn lanes onto Braddock, reconfigure a little bit of the existing section, providing for space for two right turn lanes, but striping out for the time being as it's not anticipated that would be necessary. And future striping along Braddock Road for future lanes that aren't going to be online for the time being. The current project status, the funding status, is the total estimate for this would be about $22 million. Current funding is about 2/3 of that, about 14.6 million has been set aside. Project is expected to be locally funded. And we have adequate funding to complete the design and land acquisition, and we'll be seeking future funding opportunities for the remaining funding. The milestone schedule for the project, 30% design is complete. We'll be getting public feedback over the next month or so, next 5 weeks. We'll hope to go to the Board of Supervisors later this fall for a design endorsement. Expect to complete the final design in 2023, get right-of-way acquisition underway in 2024. Hope to have construction underway, if not complete, in 2026, if we can get full funding. In terms of next steps for the project, we do again hope to go to the board later this fall for an endorsement of the preliminary design, and then pursue design completion over the next year, 18 months. We'll work on securing the remaining funding and obtain the ultimate right-of-way for a 4-lane facility. Go ahead and obtain the right-of-way now for the whole, what might be needed in the future, but only constructing 2 lanes for now, and then construction. So that's the brief presentation of what we've got thus far, and it's time for questions and comments. I'll keep this screen shared, but I'll just remind you to please use the Q&A function if you have a question to pose. And if you're joining by phone, you can push *3 to raise your hand, and you can ask a question. When it's your turn, the moderator will call on you. You can ask your question, and then you can still push *3 again to unraise your hand.
Thanks, Ron. And it does look like you have one question queued up. So,
Okay.
This is from RJ. Since we're already in the process of building this, why don't we go with the 4-lane road instead of the 2 lanes, when we will inevitably have to upgrade it and restart the public hearing process 15 years from now to widen to 4 lanes?
Yeah, I'll take a shot at that. It's a good question. Right now, our projections are showing that 2 lanes would be adequate for 25 years out. The 2 lanes would be a reduction in cost and can more readily be constructed as well, and somewhat less in terms of some right-of-way acquisition, even though we'll mostly be acquiring right-of-way for the whole 4 lanes. So it may not be necessary for quite some time to have more than 2 lanes, and the thinking was if 2 lanes appears adequate for the foreseeable future, let's do that.
Thanks, Ron. Another question came in. This is from Alexis. Shirley Gate at the Braddock intersection is 5 lanes wide today. I don't think it should be widened to 7 lanes. Why? Intersections make it hard and unsafe for people to cross, encourages unsafe car speeds, and takes more land that could be used for wider sidewalks, bump outs, or street trees. Designing for car capacity that only happens a few hours a day and car speed is bad for the environment or the communities. If it isn't necessary today, it won't be necessary as the county aims to reduce emissions.
I think we try to balance the pedestrian-friendly multimodal aspects of our road network with laneage necessary at some intersections, particularly here at Braddock Road. It's a pretty high volume intersection. Need a certain amount of lanes to move traffic. So I think, we're trying to make the balance as best we can to provide safe pedestrian access, some island refuge mid-crossing at each, at least 3 legs of the intersection here, as well as other sidewalk improvements and bike facility improvements as well. So that's our hope here. And it's a balancing act to provide what we need for vehicles as well as pedestrians.
Thank you, Ron. Next question is from Alejandro. Will this extension be considered to be an arterial road?
It's a minor arterial as it's classified, yes.
Robin, do we have any call-ins?
We don't have any raised hands at this point right now. And that's a
All right.
reminder to, if anyone's called in, press *3 to raise your hand and we can call on you that way. Thank you.
Next question here, again from Alexis. I don't think the dedicated turn lanes on the new extension of Shirley Gate are necessary, especially if only 15,000, 500 vehicles per day are anticipated in 20 years. Dedicated lanes encourage higher and unsafe car speeds. They also take more land that could be better used for side paths and trees.
So Ron, let me take this one.
Okay.
So, as Ron said earlier, we're trying to balance the various modes of travel here. We do have a continuous trail on one side that will connect to trails on the Parkway, and a sidewalk on the other side. So we are providing for both bicycle and pedestrian facilities, as well as for auto usage. As we go through this, we will be looking at the traffic study again, and if we can reduce the lanes, we would like to do that. Obviously, construction of road improvements is expensive, and so we've already reduced the cross section from a 2-lane cross section to from a 4-lane to a 2-lane cross section, and so we think that's going to be adequate. So we are sensitive to trying to balance the needs of all the users of a particular intersection. As Ron noted, there is a very high volume of vehicles at this intersection right now, and we're also trying to avoid building an interchange at Route 123 and Braddock Road, right in the right adjacent to George Mason University and some fairly significant residential development, existing residential development. So trying to balance a whole bunch of different things. Sometimes it does require that we do put in turn lanes to accommodate the vehicles, but we're not doing that at the expense of accommodating the other users.
Thank you, John.
Yes, and we have a question in from Paul. Can you explain the tie to 66? I've been following this for several years, though I admit I've missed the last few meetings. This is the first that I've heard a tie to 66 as a means to justify the project.
If you can, this graphic that I have is maybe the best I have handy to show, but if you can follow my cursor, the Shirley Gate segment that we would construct is going up to Braddock Road. Existing Shirley Gate then goes on up to Route 50, and just off the edge of the map here, where you could turn left and then, I don't know, it's a very short distance to get onto I-66 from there, as opposed to staying on the Parkway and going up pretty well west of where Route 50 joins I-66 and then turning onto I-66 East. So you're saving, I don't know exactly how many miles, but some miles with this segment as an alternative.
Thank you, Ron. Another question here. Going southbound, why did you go with pre-intersection merge instead of merging after the intersection like many other intersections in the area?
I think that's referring to the Braddock Road intersection. I hope I have that right. And I'm going to ask either Daniel or Ryan Kimley Horn to chime in and help explain that intersection design and some of the merging areas.
Hi, Ron. This is Daniel. I'm trying to make sure I understand the question correctly, and I'm not sure if there's an opportunity to get clarification. But I believe what the question is alluding to is the reduction from 2 travel lanes on Shirley Gate to 1 traveling through the intersection, and then the single
That's what it
receiving.
sounded like to me.
So that's based on the traffic volumes that we had forecasted as part of the peak hour volumes for 2046. So in the southbound direction, we're seeing around less than 300 vehicles in the through movement direction, whereas the right and left turn volumes are approaching north of 600 vehicles in a single hour. So just given the arrival pattern of volume from the north on Shirley Gate, there was benefit to having one of the 2 lanes drop into the turn lane to better facilitate the movement of traffic through the intersection.
I hope that addresses the question. Thank you, Daniel.
Yes, we did get confirmation that it was the Braddock Road side.
Okay.
Let's go back here. Another question. By increasing traffic lights from 3-way to 4-way at the Shirley Gate and Braddock Road, we will increase traffic standing time, especially at Braddock Road and currently Shirley Gate, isn't it? So what is the benefit?
Could you repeat the last part, Vanessa, please?
Absolutely. I'm just going to read the whole thing again. By increasing traffic lights from a 3-way to a 4-way, so
Right.
adding the 4th leg at Shirley Gate, right, from a T to a 4-way,
Right.
at Shirley Gate and Braddock Road, you will increase traffic standing time, especially at Braddock Road and currently Shirley Gate, isn't it? So what is the benefit?
Okay. And I'm going to defer to Daniel again to help with that question. I think we've talked about some signal timing and how that may change from current conditions. Do you have a handle that you can help answer that, Daniel?
Yeah, so currently the way that the intersection operates, there are the movements along Braddock Road with your left turn movements, and then north and southbound operate independently. So we'll process all of the traffic southbound on Shirley Gate, followed by northbound out of the golf course. Now, understanding that the golf course doesn't generate a lot of traffic, that vehicle phase gets skipped quite a bit. But when we move into the 4-leg configuration with the shift in traffic volumes at the intersection, we're actually able to transition from that split operating mode to concurrent north and south through movements on Shirley Gate, separate from the left turn movements. And that gives us a lot more flexibility in how time can be allocated around the intersection. And so during periods of higher traffic volumes, we're able to give more time to those turning movements when it's needed, but outside of those time frames, we can be a little bit more efficient in how time moves around the intersection. The other thing to keep in mind is our analysis when we looked at the 2046 scenario, we had accounted for the planned widening of Braddock Road to being 6 lanes. So there is efficiency built in with that added capacity with that additional through lane in each direction. So we were ultimately seeing that there is more efficiency at the intersection. But keep in mind that that 6-lane configuration was present in both the no build and the build traffic analysis. So when we ultimately look at the build, it's just the redistribution of traffic volumes that ultimately allows us to recognize some efficiencies in the intersection operations.
Thank you, Daniel. So it sounds like in general, you wouldn't expect a real significant increase in waiting times.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Another question here. What's the difference in widths between the sidewalk on one side and the shared use path on the other side of the extension?
Typically, we do a 10-foot wide shared use path, which is what's in our preliminary design, and a 5-foot sidewalk.
Thank you, Ron. Next one. This seems like a much more circuitous route to 66, especially given the stoplights along Shirley Gate Road. Maybe more of a just comment.
Right. Yeah. It provides an alternative. It's not the only reason for this segment to be constructed, but it certainly does provide an alternative. I know there are stoplights, and that certainly could affect the timing and what seems most advantageous for folks that want to go particularly eastbound on 66. But it does provide an alternative that's substantially shorter in distance than staying on the Parkway and picking up 66 does.
Thanks, Ron. This is Michael Garino. I'm in the capital project section at Fairfax County DOT. I was just going to add basically kind of what you were saying, Ron, that one of the benefits we saw with the planning of this project is that vehicles who are going to be going on Braddock or Route 29 headed the direction where Shirley Gate, the extension is going, to and from the Parkway. It's a really great reduction in the distance they have to travel, and so you save a lot of time. And so a lot of the benefit we're seeing is just for those vehicles as well. The analysis shows that some vehicles were also able to access 66 that way. So it's another part of the network to build in to get to and from 66 than just the Parkway. But that's not the only benefit, as Ron said.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, another question here. Wouldn't those turning volumes change with the direct connection to 286?
What if the what volumes change?
Turning volumes. I'm
Turning
guessing
volumes.
it was, yeah, to the previous discussion.
Okay. I think that's probably also focused on the Braddock Road section. So Daniel, I'll ask you to jump in and help with that. But I think I can say in general, we've done our best to forecast the expected turning volumes and provide the lanes that would be needed to accommodate that. And there's a range of traffic that they can accommodate. So, we wouldn't expect our projections to be right on, but in the ballpark. So I'd say that's sort of a general sense of how we've planned it. Daniel, do you have anything you would want to add to that?
I think one thing we did notice is that with the shift in traffic volume to Shirley Gate, it does free up some capacity as those turning volumes do. So for example, that left turn from Shirley Gate, that now becomes a through movement onto the extension of Shirley Gate inherently creates available capacity for the left turn volume. So there is still some shifting around of volume that may have taken an alternate route, say taking 29 further to the north. They may now shift to Shirley Gate to then access Braddock Road to make that east-west connection. So there are, in some cases, some, I guess you can call them a two-step volume shift that occurs specifically at this intersection. I'm not sure if there was a question about the volume that redirects at the interchange itself. I'm not sure if we can get a follow-up on that, but hopefully the response to the question at Braddock and Shirley Gate offers a response that the person asking the question was looking for.
Yeah, and I might add, as the graphic here indicates, and I touched on, we do stripe out the second, or depending on how you count it, the first right turn lane from Shirley Gate onto Braddock to keep it out of use until such time as it would be needed. So there is at least that level of sort of flexibility built in for volume.
Thanks, Ron. Any questions from callers, Robin? Caller check.
Having checked, I don't see anybody with a raised hand at this time.
Ron, you may want to remind everybody about the comment period and how to submit comments in the survey.
Okay, I sure do. Thank you. We do have a comment period, and there's several ways you can submit comments, but the comment period is open through October 29. So better than 5 weeks out now. The project website has information. Here's a link, and this PowerPoint presentation will be posted to the project website. So if you can get to that, you can get to the comment portion. But that will be posted by tomorrow, I think. So you can submit comments through the website. You can email me directly at ron.lilly@fairfaxcounty.gov. You can send regular old US mail to FC. Attention Shirley Gate Road Extension, preliminary design project feedback. It's 4050 Legato Road, Suite 400, Fairfax, Virginia 22033. Call me directly, 703-877-5607. So I think those are the main ways we provide for feedback. And we'll certainly do our best to address any questions that come to us or respond to comments that we get.
Excellent. Thank you, Ron. And I don't see any more questions. And I guess, Robin, we'll take it back to you for anybody who's raised their hand.
We don't have any hands raised.
Okay. I will note, if I wasn't clear about it, in terms of feedback, there is on the project webpage a survey. It's just a very brief survey on sort of opinions of this particular project. There's a red feedback form button at the bottom of the webpage, and again, comment period is open through October 29th. So it sounds like that's covered us. I certainly thank everybody for attending. Hopefully this has been informative and useful. And again, we'll be happy to respond to any other comments that come in the coming weeks and beyond that as well.
Thank you, Ron.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate your time and appreciate your work and appreciate everybody giving comments today.
Have a good evening. Heading towards the
Thank you,
fall
everyone.
here.
Have a good evening.
Okay.